My next guest is a doctor and state senator in Minnesota who is deeply troubled by the CDC's latest guidance for counting COVID deaths. Dr. Scott Jensen joins me now. Doctor, I want to read for our viewers what the CDC says in part about how to count COVID deaths relating to that last issue we just raised. In cases where a definite diagnosis of COVID cannot be made, but is suspected or likely, like the circumstances are compelling with a reasonable degree of certainty, it is acceptable to report COVID-19 on a death certificate as probable or presumed. So, doctor, what's the problem with that?
Well, in short, it's ridiculous. I spent some time earlier today just going through the CDC's manual on how to complete death certificates and the parts that were specifically written for physicians. And in that manual, it talks of precision and specificity, and that's what we were trained with. The determination of the cause of death is a big deal. It has impact on estate planning. It has impact on future generations. And the idea that we're going to allow people to massage and sort of game the numbers is a real issue, because we're going to undermine the trust. And right now, as we see politicians doing things that aren't necessarily motivated on fact and science, the public's their trust in politicians is already wearing thin.
And doctor, in that same CDC guidance sheet on COVID-19, it references the fact that basically this is a judgment call for doctors on how to fit. I read it, what goes on line 1, and then what goes on line 2, and what goes on the final line as far as contributing factors and ultimate cause of death. But they concede that it is a judgment call. Again, why is that not correct?
Well, let's just take influenza. If I have a patient died a month ago, had fever, cough, and died after 3 days, and maybe had been an elderly, fragile individual, and there happened to be an influenza epidemic around our community, I wouldn't put influenza on the death certificate, and I've never been encouraged to do so. I would put probably respiratory arrest would be the top line, and the underlying cause of the disease would be pneumonia, and in the contributing factors, I might well put emphysema or congestive heart failure. But I would never put influenza down as the underlying cause of death, and yet that's what we're being asked to do here.
Dr. Fauci was asked about the COVID death count today. Here's what he said in part.
What do you say to those folks who are making the claim without really any evidence that these deaths are being padded, that the number of COVID-19 deaths are being padded?
You will always have conspiracy theories when you have very challenging public health crises. They are nothing but distractions.
Conspiracy theories, doctor? So you're engaging in conspiracy theories. What do you say to Dr. Fauci tonight?
Well, I would remind him that anytime healthcare intersects with dollars, it gets awkward. Right now, Medicare has determined that if you have a COVID-19 admission to the hospital, you'll get paid $13,000. If that COVID-19 patient goes on a ventilator, you get $39,000, 3 times as much. Nobody can tell me after 35 years in the world of medicine that sometimes those kinds of things impact on what we do. Some physicians really have a bent towards public health, and they will put down influenza or whatever because that's their preference. I try to stay very specific, very precise. If I know I've got pneumonia, that's what's going on the death certificate. I'm not going to add stuff just because it's convenient. I think that it's not a conspiracy theory at all.
Yeah. So you reject what he said?
Absolutely.
Well, it's interesting that in Italy, where it's socialized medicine, I guess they don't have an interest in the money, if that's what it is here, and they just went back and they started reclassifying deaths according to their top scientific advisor. So they admitted that they were being liberal or generous in how they coded some of these deaths, and they're just going back and reclassifying them. Does that surprise you?
It really does. I mean, let's just take someone getting hit by a bus, and they collapse along, and they go into the emergency room, and they're there for 15, 20 minutes. Blood work comes back, COVID test comes back positive, and they die 20 minutes later because of their collapsed lung. We're going to put that down as COVID-19? That doesn't make any sense.
Dr. Jensen, really important conversation. We really, really appreciate your data-driven perspective. Thank you so much.
Senator Scott Jensen. I represent Carver County. This is one of the most important videos I've made, and one of the hardest. Frankly, it's been a very difficult decision to make whether I even wanted to do it. Less than a week ago, I was notified by the Board of Medical Practice in Minnesota that I was being investigated because of public statements I had made. They listed 2 allegations. They said I've been spreading misinformation in regards to the completion of death certificates on a news program, which happened to take place on April 7th. And you could find that one. It was with Chris Berg if you wanted to. And the other allegation was that I provided reckless advice in my willingness to compare COVID-19 and the flu. When I got this letter, I was ticked. And quite frankly, I leaned into the comfort and wisdom of my family to help them, let them talk me off the cliff. But doggone it, if this can happen to me, my view is it could happen to anybody. I mean, I've been a family doc for 40 years. I work hard. I love my patients. I do house calls. I've been medical director. I've held staff positions in hospitals to help make things work better. I've been in the Senate for 4 years and I've learned a lot. I've never had anything like this happen. Shoot a mile. 5 years ago, I was named the Minnesota Family Doctor of the Year in Minnesota. And I get this because a couple people complained, and I don't get to know who those people are. I don't know if they're routinely in a political camp, if they're activists. I've gone online and looked at what it takes to complete a complaint that the Board of Medical Practice has to follow up on. It's a one-page deal. You can say what you want. You could be a huge donor for the other party, and I wouldn't get to know it. I wouldn't get to know if you live in my district. I don't get to know anything. I checked. So, here I am. I've spent the better part of the last 6 days preparing a response. I understand how important the work is that the Board of Medical Practice does. I mean, physicians do screw up. 2 of the big areas where physicians mess up is inappropriate sexual behavior, inappropriate self-medicating, certainly with opiates. But this is an odd position for me to be in, and I am just stunned. But I should have seen it coming, because I saw the threats on social media. I've seen them for the last 2 or 3 months. I've seen them come from physicians. I've seen them come from people in all walk of life. They didn't agree with me. They didn't like it, that I was trying to provide some context for the flu, for COVID-19. We've had some 35, 40,000 cases of COVID-19 in Minnesota thus far. According to the Department of Health people, that might translate into 10 times that many. And if it does translate into 10 times that many, that's 350,000 cases. But in 2018, we had more than 500,000 Minnesotans with the flu. When I say that, am I recklessly giving you advice regarding COVID-19 and the flu? Dr. Anthony Fauci has come out and compared them all the time. Dr. Mike Osterholm has. In terms of the death certificates, on April 3rd, I got an email from the Department of Health that said very clearly that we should report COVID-19 on death certificates if it is assumed to have caused or contributed. Well, that's not how we do death certificates. The official ICD-10 coding for April 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, during the time frame in question, says this: if the provider documents suspected, possible, probable, or inconclusive COVID-19, do not assign U07.1, which is COVID-19 disease. It says, assign a code explaining the reason for the encounter, such as fever, or a cough, or shortness of breath. That's what the official instructions say. So I get this on April 3rd. I end up inadvertently, sort of accidentally, running it up the flagpole with Chris Berg on April 7th. And what happens? The Department of Health, a few days later, comes out with a clarification. And then a few weeks later, they come out with another clarification. And I appreciate it. Fact of the matter is, I'm proud of the Department of Health in Minnesota for saying we are not going to list non-confirmed cases as deaths in Minnesota. We are going to put an asterisk by them, and we'll follow up on those later. But that's not what Pennsylvania was doing. That's why they had to subtract 200 patients from their COVID-19 death count. Colorado did the same thing. New York went the other direction. New York said, we're having more deaths in a certain period than we normally have, so those deaths must be COVID-19. We just didn't pick them up. So never mind the testing. We're adding 3,700 to our total, and that does increase our total by 50%. So I'm in the position where I have to explain that I wasn't spreading misinformation. And I'm not being reckless when I talk about COVID-19 and the influenza both being single-stranded RNA viruses that are respiratory in nature with similar symptoms and can be spread through particulate matter and aerosol transmission. I've got an 8-page document that I put together for the Board of Medical Practice, and let me be clear. They do important work, and I'm going to fully cooperate with them. I also have some 70 pages of attachments, and in the attachments, I've got the Pennsylvania Department of Health slashing their numbers by 201. I've got the Department of Health in Illinois, where one of the directors says that just because we put COVID-19 down on the death certificate as cause of death, that doesn't mean the patient died of COVID-19. She said that. Dr. Fauci, when he talks about influenza, he was the lead article in this New England Journal article, and he said this: if one assumes that the number of asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic cases for COVID-19 is several times as high as the number of reported cases, the case fatality rate may be considerably less than 1%. This suggests that the overall clinical consequences of COVID-19 may ultimately be more akin to those of a severe seasonal influenza. That's Dr. Fauci. And, by the way, one of the contributing authors was Dr. Robert Redfield, the head of the CDC. Dr. Osterholm is a well-regarded epidemiologist, and he was saying this in the middle of March. He said, the flu has become a pandemic more than once and it's killed millions of people. It still exists today. Unfortunately, we now have on our hands something else, but it's caused by coronavirus, which is acting very much like influenza. Folks, do I feel targeted? Yeah, I do. Do I know who my accusers are? No, I don't get to know. Could I be disciplined by the Board of Medical Practice? Well, sure I can. There's 2 allegations they're investigating. If I have been spreading this information, then what about Governor Walz and the Department of Health? Right around March 1st, we had a Department of Health memo that talked about the purpose of, if you will, some of the measures that would be taking to dampen, delay, and decrease the peak, to allow the accumulation of PPE and make sure that our hospital capacities weren't being overwhelmed. In that memo, they say what the effective measures are. Cover your mouth. Don't go out if you have cough or fever. Avoid touching your face, your eyes, or mouth. Cover your mouth if you cough. Wash your hands frequently. Minimize outings. Socially distance. But what did they say were not effective measures? They said wearing masks is not effective.
The best way to take control over people and control them utterly is to take a little of their freedom at a time, to erode rights by 1,000 tiny and almost imperceptible reductions. In this way, the people will not see those rights and freedoms being removed until past the point at which these changes cannot be reversed.
Now at 10, time is ticking for local businesses to get ready. A mandatory mask rule kicks in on Monday. Tonight, an attorney shares the top 3 things business owners need to do now. Number 1, formulate a health and safety policy.
And post it around their office conspicuously so that people can see it. The policy has to include a policy on wearing masks whenever it would be difficult for someone to socially distance.
Number 2, perform health screenings and temperature checks.
To make sure that you are fully compliant, although it's not mandatory, businesses should develop a policy to do both of those things. And a health screening can be as simple as a quick one-page questionnaire. Temperature checks, you should use a touchless thermometer and instruct your employees on it.
And number 3, prepare for rule breakers.
Our advice is if somebody's not going to be compliant, they're not going to follow your health policy, you need to, as part of the health policy, include some type of enforcement measure, including asking them to leave. If they're really being belligerent and risking the safety of your employees or other visitors, you should call the police.
Businesses that don't follow the new order will face a fine up to $1,000. Attorney Joe Holscher with a warning that businesses could commit multiple violations and those fines will stack up.
You know, one of the most simple ones we can talk about is the use of face mask. You know, we're all being told here that we have to use these masks to go back to work, to ride public transportation. It seems to be mandated in certain areas and not in others. I want to get your thoughts, and I'd love to get the panel's thoughts on whether they think face masks are going to help this situation. Maybe get your thoughts first, and then we can ask a simple question to the panel.
So the face mask agenda seems to be, if you look at it from just a safety standpoint, it's highly suspect. If you look at it from a scientific perspective, the agenda is nefarious. The use of a face mask is designed to protect not the doctor or the nurse, but the patient, so that when a surgeon is operating and doing a bypass surgery or a herniorrhaphy or a joint replacement, that if the surgeon sneezes or coughs or drools or spits or whatever, you don't want to get the surgical field contaminated. You want to maintain that sterile field. When people in the Far East, for example, wear a mask, they're wearing a mask so out of courtesy, they're not going to get somebody else sick. That's the reason people wear masks. Now, this mandate of wearing a mask, if you notice during the press conferences with the president's never worn a face mask. Even Dr. Fauci originally said back in March, there's no reason to wear a face mask. It doesn't make any sense. Now, of course, he's wearing a face mask. So the first thing about a face mask is that we already talked about, it's suppressing the immune system because you're driving the person into a hypoxic state. There have been multiple studies that have been done on this where they've actually studied surgeons and seen the level of oxygenation, and especially on a chronic basis. Dr. Russell Blaylock put out a great paper that summarized many of those research points. So we know that happens. We know it suppresses the immune system because of that sympathetic mimetic drive that we initiate because we're having to suck oxygen through the face mask. On top of that, we breathe out carbon dioxide. But when you've got a mask on, you're actually creating a decrease. You're creating actually an increase in respiratory drive because you get more carbon dioxide coming back from the face mask. Now, the face mask also creates other types of issues because you've got irritating your face and sweating and all this stuff. So you're always fiddling around with your face. And then the last point about the face mask, and there's a lot of points we can make about the face mask, but the last and most that shows the most idiotic aspect of this is that it's like building a chain link fence to prevent a fly from getting into your house, or a split rail fence to keep mice out. The viral particles that we're trying to keep out of our bodies are so much smaller than the smallest pore of these masks. Now, there's also another thought process that this entire thing that's being blamed on COVID-19 is actually the real pathology that people are experiencing are pathology that is actually from a secondary to a histotoxic hypoxic injury, which has nothing to do with the virus. It's to do with contamination from combustion of fossil fuels, from the incinerator burn-offs, from the chemtrails, from all the different components in the quality of the air. So we had that present in Wuhan because we know that the level of air there was extremely, extremely poor. As far as back as 2017, 2016, CNN and BBC covered the air quality issue in Wuhan, and it was basically garnered international attention because of the quality of the air. On top of that, Iran, Italy, and New York have all the same issues. So if this is a histotoxic, hypoxic injury, then when you're wearing a face mask, and let me just make sure for the audience, the doctors here obviously know what that means, but histo meaning cell, toxic meaning toxicity. So on the cellular level, the toxicity that's resulting in a hypoxic injury, which is decrease in oxygen. So many of the doctors that have been censored that are in the trenches have explained that this does not present like a viral injury. People are turning blue. It looks like an altitude type sickness. It looks like a hypoxic injury. Well, that's exactly what this histotoxic hypoxic injury would do. And so if that's the case, when you're wearing a face mask, there are various plastics in there. And as we continue to breathe back and forth, the humidity starts to cause that propylene, whatever the material is, I think it's propylene glycol or some type of a plastic, it starts to break down. And now you're ingesting or inhaling many of these chemicals that are organophosphates or that may have these plastic components in there. I don't even know all the different components in there, but they're inhaling that, which is going to further exacerbate a histotoxic hypoxic injury. So you've got the practical aspect that it doesn't work. It's like building a fence with mosquitoes coming in. But on top of that, it's actually creating a worse issue. It's suppressing the immune system. And if our goal is to make people healthy, the first thing we should be doing is telling them not to wear a mask, especially when it's not designed. A mask is not designed for to protect the doctor. It's designed to protect the sterile field that the doctor is operating in.
And great. So let's get the consensus here. I guess to get the best question would be to raise your hand if you believe that the wearing of a mask is unnecessary. Is that how you would phrase that?
We could start there with unnecessary, and then there's a second question that I have after that. So let's see how many people.
So let me just see. Wearing of a mask is unnecessary. Let's just see if we see hands here. Okay, so I'm going to go through here and see these hands. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing about 80% here. 80% probably, 70%. We're just going to take a little time and scroll through here. Again, if you are joining us, if you could turn your camera on so we can just see those hands raised up. That's super helpful. I see about 70 or 80% are people saying that it's unnecessary. You said you had a follow-up question to that. What was that?
Well, my follow-up question would be how many people concur that it actually is contributing to the suppression of the immune system, that's actually making people sicker by wearing the mask. Not that it's not necessary, that's actually making it worse.
Okay, hands up if you do. And I see Dr. Grant and Dr. Schmidt, and there's quite a few people here. All right, hold your hands. If you can just keep those up, we're just going to scroll through those. Wow, okay, so quite a lot of people saying it's worse.
So notice what, like Dr. Wells, for example, he didn't raise his hand when it said it wasn't necessary, but he raised his hand when he said that it's detrimental. So some of the people that didn't raise their hand when we asked the question if it's not necessary, they were waiting for that next question. So they were anticipating that somebody's going to ask that it's worse. That's even more important, Brian. So you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, so basically, and we've got probably 80-90% of the doctors here saying it's actually more harmful for you to wear a mask.
That's what I'm seeing.
Which is the opposite of what...
I've only seen two hands that have not gone up.
Wow. Which is the opposite of what we're being told. And just
four hands that haven't gone up.
Yeah. And that's the opposite of what the WHO is telling people right now. And if I published this on YouTube right now, this video would be banned and I would be censored because that's against public opinion, WHO mandate, and yet 90% of the doctors are saying that that's the case here.
I've talked a lot in the past about how they keep putting the number 33 and everything. And they've gone overboard with the coronavirus hoax with just putting the number 33 on basically everything. And if you don't know what the 33 is, it's actually the most important number in Freemasonry. I could get into a lot more on the number 33, but they almost always put it in when they want to let people know that it's a psychological operation that they're doing. And it's pretty clear this whole corona hoax is a complete psychological operation.
You may know, as of today, and I say as of today at this hour, we have 33 confirmed positive tests for the virus.
Yesterday we had 22 cases. Today we have 33 cases, so it's gone up by 11. That brings, those are 11 new cases. 22 goes to 33.
As we sort through this here in Arkansas, today we have 33 confirmed positive cases in Arkansas.
As of today, we have 33 confirmed cases with Boston residents. We expect those numbers to climb.
As of this afternoon, we have 33 Pennsylvanians who have tested positive for COVID-19.
So as of this morning, there were 33 confirmed cases in North Carolina.
Good evening to you. Lots to get to tonight. I'm Leon Hendricks. We want to start with new information into our newsroom. Within the past couple of hours, there are now 33 confirmed cases of the coronavirus in Michigan.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Richard Gearhart. Karina Corral has the night off. More cases of the coronavirus were confirmed today in San Luis Obispo County, bringing the total number now to 33.
Right now, Georgia is reporting a total of 99 cases in 19 counties. That is 33 new cases from just yesterday.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Swenson. More cases and more events affected. Here is the latest coronavirus news. There are now 33 cases in Louisiana.
As expected. The number of cases of COVID-19 jumps. A total of 33 people in our state have been tested and are confirmed to have the coronavirus.
Day 4 of the shelter-at-home order brought 6 new confirmed cases of the coronavirus to San Luis Obispo County, bringing the total number to 33.
Mandatory mask laws are spreading in Canada. It's like you'd think there was some sort of disease or virus that was spreading. I don't see any evidence of it. But I do see evidence of lockstep New World Order, compliance and idiocy, and mask-tards and mask-villes and mask lands happening all over the place. And this whole push to get us to accept the new normal, of course, that they want us all to embrace. By giving you, your stylish mask with your watermelon and strawberries and your diversity to go along with it. And we're seeing it happen. You know, it starts in certain areas, of course, and it's been going on for the last few months. We started screaming at people and using drones to harass old women for not wearing masks and stuff like that. Then it went to Italy and Spain and wherever else, and New York City, of course, Montreal, Toronto, and now they just want you to get used to it. I see people driving every single day with masks on. I just want to, I don't know, just want to stop them and ask them if their brain is still functioning. But this is the type of efforts that they're doing. I mean, all choreographed, all, the fashionable sort of mask, get you to embrace it, get you to embrace their New World Order.
I wear my face mask in my car so I can virtue signal in my neighborhood. And I wear my face mask when I walk so I can make sure they all know I'm really smart.
Keep your distance.
While they're deceiving me, it cuts my immunity. TV's got control of me. I turn it on, they say.
But this is not over yet.
Don't trust the man with the orange skin, oh no.
It comes from China. There has to be some form of punishment.
Don't mess around with the CDC number.
All troopers will be professional, polite, and will treat everyone with dignity and respect.
These latest steps as the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Rhode Island jumps by 33 overnight.
With 4 more deaths reported overnight, the death toll now stands at least 33.
The Ministry of Public Health has confirmed a batch of 33 new COVID-19 patients. Ireland now has an accumulated number of cases.
Oh no, I can't believe it. We gotta make him a billionaire, oh yeah.
And then the final solution, which is a year to 2 years off, is
the vaccine.
I wear my face mask in my house so I can stop a symptomatic disease spread to myself.
You guys know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm.
That's something the president does a good job of. He always sticks 3 or 4 fragments of truth into something he's saying that's quite distorting. And so for me, I think the virus is serious, particularly for people that are immunosuppressed and for older people. It's spreading. It's obviously going to be a pandemic. We have to take precautions that are measured and sensible, but we can't under-exaggerate what's going on either. And so I think that's a very dangerous position to be in. This could be President Trump's Hurricane Katrina.
Summer has come and passed. The innocent can never last. Wake me up when September ends.
తెలంగాణలో కరోనా వైరస్ బారిన పడిన వారి సంఖ్య 33కు పెరిగింది. నిన్న కొత్తగా 6 కేసులు నమోదయ్యాయి. ఇందులో ఒకరు కరీంనగర్కు చెందిన 23 ఏళ్ల విద్యార్థి.
The Ministry of Public Health has reported that the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Thailand remains at 33.
10 new confirmed cases have been reported in Malaysia, bringing the total now to 93. Health Director General Datuk Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said they were first and second generation close contacts of case 33.
Patients 21 to 24 announced yesterday evening, March 9, 2020. This brings the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 33.
Like my father's come to pass, 7 years has gone so fast. Wake me up when September ends. Here comes the rain again, falling from the stars, drenched in my pain again, becoming who we are. As my memory rests, but never forgets what I lost. Wake me up when September ends.
I know my fellow citizens here in Arizona and across the country are saying our prayers for those affected by the Hurricane Katrina.
I wear my face mask when I bike so I can placate all the Karens at the park. And now the who is deceiving me? Trade freedom for security. TV's got control of me. I turn it on, they say. Don't take it off till the vaccine's here, oh no. Get microchipped and go back to work, oh yeah. Oh no, I can't believe it. It's not just a nerd, he's like a doctor too, oh yeah. The contact tracer's knocking at my door, oh no. I'm just a number.
It is an enemy of humanity, not an enemy against Christianity or a race of people, a religion, a nation. It is the enemy, true enemy of humanity. If you look around you, from that perspective, you can clearly see that the enemy is trying to modify humanity. They've already started modifying food, modifying the weather, geoengineering it, also using the weather as a weapon. Can cause hurricanes, cause earthquakes in certain places of the world. The knowledge that is being shared to the secret societies, to the evil men on the face of this earth, where that technology is coming from. It's not coming from the minds of men. And it goes back to Ephesians 6:12, is that things that we're battling are not necessarily flesh and blood. They are principalities of things on high and dark realms. And that's exactly what is going on. Call it what you will. Satanism, the Nephilim from the fallen, things that are hurting humanity, that a lot of people, and get this, listen to me very carefully, a lot of people think they're doing good by genetically modifying food, genetically modifying your genes, and all of this stuff that's going on. But eventually where it's going to lead to, like everything else, just like the technology of the internet and the computer, it can be used for good, but ultimately it'll be used for evil against us, where technology is taken too far. The modifying of your genes will be taken too far and used against you.
On its feet, and America will be a stronger place for it.
Summer has come and passed. The innocent can never last. Wake me up when September ends. Like my father's come to pass. 20 years has gone so fast. Wake me up when September ends. Wake me up when September ends. Wake me up when September ends.
What the? If you know anything about nutrition and exercise, you know that if you want strong bones, ligaments, tendons, muscles, hair, teeth, skin, nails, whatever, you need the 5 types of collagen in your diet. You can grab that through BioTrust. This stuff is awesome, guys. Click on the link in the description. If you don't know anything about it, you can watch a couple of the videos and get up to speed, but do yourself a favor and grab some.
This is a really important video, and I want you to share it with everybody you know. There are some who insist that it's engaging in hyperbole to say that those who make you wear a mask today will make you take the vax tomorrow. I want to go over this from USA Today. What states require face masks in public? Kansas, Texas joining growing list of states where it's mandatory. You don't have an option. They're making you wear a mask out in public. Have you been wearing a face mask when you leave home? As coronavirus cases continue to rise in at least 40 states, many governors are instituting or renewing orders requiring people to wear face coverings in public, causing you to do something against your will and without your consent. In essence, giving you medical advice. That medical advice being, hey, put your mask on. This does affect your health, whether you think it's positive or negative. So states and governor orders
are creating a situation where they're making you wear a mask out in public. Ask yourself a question. Why would they not take another step and make you take a vax in the future for public safety? Because this is what it's about, right? This is about ensuring that the public is safe, that they're safe from you, and that you're safe from the public. That's what it's all about. The mask orders are issued to ensure public safety. It says most of the orders require people to wear masks in both indoor and outdoor public spaces where social distancing isn't possible. Now, we went over this article yesterday where this man was kicked off of this Florida-bound flight in LaGuardia Airport for not wearing a mask. People are treated like this because people are freaked out because what CNN and MSLSD and Fox News are telling people that if you don't wear a mask, you're jeopardizing public safety. Why wouldn't they take the next step and say, hey, if you don't produce a vaccination certification, you can't take this flight or hop on the metro or take an Uber or take a Lyft or be out in public or go shop for groceries? What's to keep them from saying, if you don't produce your vaccination certification, you can't participate in normal things in life like the rest of us who do care about the public? You care about the public, don't you? Then you need to wear your mask. You care about the public, don't you? Then you need to socially distance. You care about the public, don't you? You care about not killing people with your infection, right? Then you need to take the vaccination. It's a requirement before you go out in public, before you shop indoors, before you subject yourself to a whole crowd of people and you haven't taken your vax. I just want to demonstrate that forcing people to take a vaccine against their will and without their consent is something that absolutely is on the table. There are people in this world that have the mentality that they can and will use state power to force a needle into your arm against your will and without your consent. Let me demonstrate that right now with the words of Alan Dershowitz.
Let me put it very clearly. You have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread a disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated.
You have no right not to be vaccinated, says attorney Alan Dershowitz. Remember, this is the guy that defended O.J. Simpson, and he also defended Jeffrey Epstein, who didn't kill himself.
No right not to wear a mask. You have no right.
You have no right not to wear a mask. Basically, his mentality is the mentality of a lot of people, guys. This isn't just Alan Dershowitz. They believe that you have no right not to wear a mask. You have no right to reject the vaccination. You have no right not to social distance. This is 100% taking away individual rights in the name of keeping the public safe. It's necessary to keep the public safe. But necessity will always be the plea for every infringement of human freedoms. It is the argument of tyrants, and it is the creed of slaves.
To open up your business.
Wait, can I stop you?
He said you have no right to open up your business.
Right, not to be vaccinated, meaning if they decide you have to be vaccinated, we have to be vaccinated?
Absolutely, and if you refuse to be vaccinated, the state has the power to literally take you to a doctor's office and plunge a needle into your arm. If the vaccination
Where is that in the Constitution?
If the vaccination is designed to prevent the spreading disease. If the vaccination is only to prevent a disease that you will get, for example, if there's a disease that will kill you, you have the right to refuse that, but you have no right to refuse to be vaccinated against a contagious disease. Public health, the police power of the Constitution.
You have no right to refuse a vaccination, says Alan Dershowitz. You have no right to refuse a vaccination. Tell me how this is the land of the free, home of the brave again? So according to Alan Dershowitz and everybody who thinks along the lines that he's thinking, you have no right not to wear a mask, you have no right to open your business, and you have no right not to be vaccinated. And if you resist being vaccinated, then the state, that is the government, has the power to take you to a medical facility and force a needle into your arm against your will and without your consent. Thus, Those who force you to wear a mask today will force you to take the vax tomorrow. This is how serious it's gotten here in America and in the entire world, guys. If we don't stand together, we will certainly hang separately. Please do
worry about with medicines. That is, might some of them have side effects? Do we need safety testing? I mean, and we're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. Oh.
We're living in the New World Order right now. So anybody that says, anybody that says these crazy corona conspiracy theories, that is the dumbest shit ever. Crazy corona conspiracy. If you're saying, those guys are talking about corona conspiracy, you dumb motherfucker. You're a dumb motherfucker. We're in a conspiracy. We're in the biggest conspiracy theory ever. Because a year ago, if I would have told anybody, if I would have been on this podcast, and I would have said, dude, you know what's coming? We're going to shut down. The world is going to shut down. All sports worldwide are going to stop. All sports. Soccer, baseball, football, worldwide. Not in one country. Worldwide. And you know what? Vegas is going to shut down. Disneyland's going to shut down. Everything's going to shut down. And the world economy is going to collapse in 1 year. Dude, people would have fucking thought I was that shit crazy. Crazier. That's a crazier conspiracy than flat earth. That everything's going to shut down. All sports. There will be no more concerts. There will be no more sports. Everything's going to be closed. Everyone's going to go broke. The world economy is going to get smashed. If I would have told you that a year ago, shit, you would have gave up on me, man. You would have gave up on me. You're tolerating the flat earth, but you wouldn't have tolerated that. You wouldn't have tolerated that. And guess what? It's happening. Yeah. We are in the New World Order right the fuck now. If you don't think so, you need to fucking check yourself.
People are queuing outside all the shops, standing in line like meek, obedient slaves. Nobody's thinking to question it. Everyone's just obeying. You've got the gatekeepers that they're putting on the doors of all these stores, telling you how many people can go in, where you've got to stand, how much distance you've got to leave from the next person. Half the people in the queue are wearing these stupid fucking face masks anyway, and that's going to protect them from anything. And just look at what our lives have become. The only thing you can do now is go out to the shop for essential supplies. You've had your freedom of movement taken away from you. You can't go to the pub if you choose, because they're not open. You can't go for a coffee in a cafe if you choose. You can't go into the countryside for a walk by the river. You can't go and sit on the beach. You can't go into the park. You can't go on holiday. You can't do any of these things. And people are just putting up with this. And the only thing that's left is going to the shops, which has become the highlight of many people's days, and look at the situation that we have to go through there. Standing in line like you're in a fucking concentration camp. Now, it would be one thing if all this was being done really for our own good, and if we had governments that truly care about us and want to keep us safe. But we know this isn't the case. It's never been the case. Your government doesn't care about you. They're there to control you. They, in turn, are controlled by higher powers that want to enslave, surveil, monitor, control, and dominate the entire human population. When are people going to wake up to this fact? There is enough evidence around now to prove that this is the case if people would only apply their free will to go and do this research for themselves. So the situation you have now, trying to get into these shops, standing behind these stupid bits of tape, people getting nervous when you get too close to them, going into the other aisle to walk past you, and nobody's objecting to it, everyone's just putting up with it. Look what our lives have become. All of this 1 month ago would have been unthinkable if you told people we would be living this way, if you told people they have to stand 2 meters away from you in the store, if you told people that only 4 people can be in a shop at any one given time. Nobody would have accepted it, nobody would have believed it. Look how quickly this has become our regular daily experience. I'm not happy about this, and I seem to be in a minority because most people that I meet are just putting up with it, just going along with it. For as long as you cooperate with madness such as this, don't expect it to change, don't expect it to get lifted. We're being conditioned and entrained to accept this as the new normal, and I'm not happy about it, and I'm not putting up with it. I'm not happy with living this way. I've got too much self-respect, too much dignity, and too much intelligence to put up with this shit.
Gentlemen, in exactly 5 days, we will be $100 billion richer.
Oh, these crazy... Anybody that says these crazy corona conspiracy theories, that is the dumbest shit ever. Crazy corona conspiracy. If you're saying, oh, those guys are talking about corona conspiracy, you dumb motherfucker. We're living in the New World Order right now. We're living in the New World Order right now. Right now.
A new world order.
Motherfucker. Right now. Right now.
You're driving too fast? Jail. Slow? Jail. You're charging too high prices for sweaters, glasses. You right to jail.
Motherfucker.
Put you in jail. Right away. No trial, no nothing. Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists.
Motherfucker.
It is well known that people who do not suffer from TBS are too smart for this hoax and will not allow it to go beyond 4 more weeks. The lazy Americans with TDS will continue to milk the government for more money and time off from work, confusing it with being their sugar daddy.
We're living in the New World Order right now. You dumb motherfucker. You're a dumb motherfucker. We're in a conspiracy. We're in the biggest conspiracy theory ever. Because a year ago, if I would have told anybody, if I would have been on this podcast, and I would have said, dude, you know what's coming? We're going to shut down. The world is going to shut down. All sports worldwide are going to stop. All sports. Soccer, baseball, football, worldwide. Not in one country, worldwide. And you know what? Vegas is going to shut down. Disneyland's going to shut down. Everything's going to shut down. And the economy, the world economy is going to collapse in 1 year. Dude, people would have fucking thought I was batshit crazy. Crazier. That's a crazier conspiracy than flat Earth.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order. In the words of Winston Churchill, a world order in which the principles of justice and fair play protect the weak against the strong.
Motherfucker. Right now. Right now.
Protect the weak against the strong.
Motherfucker. Right now. Right now.
Protect the weak against the strong.
Motherfucker. Right now. Right now.
Protect the weak against the strong.
Motherfucker.
Alexei, tell us something interesting. Okay. The earth is flat, and a witch stole his pants.
You undercook fish, believe it or not, jail. You overcook chicken, also jail. Undercook, overcook. You make an appointment with the dentist and you don't show up, believe it or not, jail, right away. You're playing music too loud, right to jail, right away. We have the best patients in the world because of jail.
That shit crazy. Crazier. That's a crazier conspiracy than flat Earth.
You're playing music too loud, right to jail, right away. A new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Protect the weak against the strong. Protect protect the weak against the strong.
Crazier. That's a crazier conspiracy than flat.